celebrating, or for some, a lot of celebrating, whether it's wine, beer, or the harder stuff. Daytime's resident doc Srini Iyengar is here to tell us the 5 myths associated with not drinking, but the hangover.
The after effect of a party night out or a good night out. But let's make it really clear, Jerry. Right, first and foremost, you want to avoid a hangover? Don't drink.
Or drink in moderation.
But again, first and foremost, we have to emphasize that, because if everyone's a pure, no hangover perspective, just don't drink.
Right.
But if you are going to drink, let's talk about some of the ways maybe you can avoid that hangover being as hurtful the next day.
Okay, so let's first start with type of alcohol. You have your wines, you have your beers, you have your harder liquors. We've got some vodka here, some wine, cosmopolitan. Okay, is there anything you can drink that will either not give you a hangover or not be as much of a hangover, or is that a myth?
Well, the thing is, there's certain alcohols that have some substances in them that might predispose you to have more of a worsening headache or feeling of a hangover the next day. Now, wine, red wine, has something called tannins. We hear about tannin levels oftentimes. Tannins are thought to predispose someone to having a little bit more of a headache the next day than white wine. So white wine versus red wine, obviously in moderation, might have a less of an effect of that hangover. Now, whiskey, bourbon, compared to clear liquors like vodka or gin, there's something called congeners. It's a substance that's present in dark liquor. That's another issue which may predispose you to a worsening hangover.
So darker liquors,
red wine,
you're more likely to have a hangover. Red wine, you're more likely to have a hangover. That's really weird, because Cindy was just telling me that she drinks red wine, sometimes a lot of red wine, and she says that she never gets a hangover.
And what's interesting too, because men and women have differences as well. Now, the fact is, men and women drinking the same amount of alcohol, women tend to fare worse, not better.
Really?
And it's because the amount of water that's present in the human body. Men just typically have more water in their body compared to women.
So it's not about body weight necessarily?
No, it isn't. It actually is more or less the fact that water, in equal size man and woman, men typically have more water, so the more absorption of the alcohol. So that would just be based on genetics, or based on your sexes right there.
Right.
And where you would absorb it or not.
I find that so interesting, because I mean, I would have never thought that.
And studies have shown that it's why women tend to get drunk at the same, or more of a rate, with the same amount of alcohol for the same male at the same weight and height.
And everybody thinks it's because they weigh less.
Yes, exactly. Generally, but it's not true.
Okay, now I learned in college, the hard way, that that if you eat bread, told this, if you eat bread or you do a carb load or whatever, pasta, that your chances of getting a hangover are less.
Well,
true or not?
Well, it's true that food can absorb alcohol. We all know that. But it's usually fatty foods, things with cheese in, like a steak. They can absorb the food much better than any other type of food. But starchy food, carbohydrates, can do the same. The problem is, Jerry, I think a lot of people have been here, 2 in the morning, eating that food at that time does nothing for you.
Yeah, we've all been there. Well, I'm not going to say we've all been there. I'll speak for myself. I've been there. All right, we've heard of hair of the dog. Is this a myth? And hair of the dog meaning, of course, you...
Drinking alcohol
drink in the morning.
When you wake up.
Oh
all that does is postpone the hangover. That has nothing to do with taking away the hangover. All it does is push the buck down the street a little bit further. So drinking any type of alcohol the day of waking up will only postpone the hangover to later in the day.
Okay, and lastly, a lot of people think, and it's interesting to hear your opinion on this, that if you take ibuprofen or some painkillers before you start drinking, that'll lessen the effects of a hangover.
Well, in a way, it's true and false. True that it can help with the headache of a hangover, but let's put this in perspective.
So before you start drinking?
Ibuprofen usually only lasts 4 to 6 hours.
Okay.
So the theoretical look at this is that you'll be through your ibuprofen use by the time your hangover sets in the morning. But the main thing is, do not take acetaminophen, Tylenol. That can affect your liver, and that will affect you with your drinking. So I would tell you right now, if you're going to take a pain reliever, the best bet to do it is either right before you go to sleep or in the morning when you wake up, because it only lasts 6 to 8 hours.
And so don't take acetaminophen.
Do not take acetaminophen.
So what is the best painkiller to take if you wake up in the morning with a headache?
Ibuprofen.
Ibuprofen.
That would be the best one, like an aspirin or ibuprofen. Those would be the best ones to take because they don't affect the liver. Okay.
You know, we joke a lot. I joke a lot about drinking. I actually am a very moderate drinker, but it's just always fun to joke about it. But on we started the segment as how we should end this segment. It is really important, especially with the holidays coming, to remember to drink in moderation. Obviously, don't drink and drive. It is just
absolutely
the worst thing you can possibly do. Those cops are going to be out there giving their DUIs
And
out
if you are going to
handily.
drink, get a designated driver.
Yeah.
Get someone else that isn't going to drink, that's already designated not to do that.
Or hire a cab,
Yeah, or get a
hire
taxi.
Uber.
Exactly.
I mean, come on, there are plenty of ways to do this. Are you a big drinker?
No, absolutely.
Do you not drink at all?
Well, I do drink, but I would say, you know what, with food, I think pairing a good Cabernet, you know, or maybe even a stout or a porter, you know, really something really that goes well with the meal.
Right.
Separately from that, no, I tend to look at this as like, it complements the meal, doesn't need to be the meal.
Right, exactly. How about a beer? No, I'm kidding. All right, good information, Dr. Iyengar.
Thanks for having me.
As always. And we'll put all this up on our website, daytimeonline.tv. Good to see you again. We'll be right back.